गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। You know, there's a lot of talk going on tariffs, nuclear threat from Asim Munir, and many other things, and that's hogging the headlines. But I thought, look, let me do something different. The difference is when everyone says, China is our alternative or Russia is our alternative, or we can reopen trade with China to offset what's happening with US. There are a lot of people coming, videos are coming out, views are coming out. I thought let us discuss how you can do it, what's the reality of China, and how far can you go with it. There's a limit, right? How far can you go and how effective it will be? Because this needs constant reminding. There are enough people in India who feel, oh, China is our alternative to USA. Well, that's actually at the outset not even a thought process. But yes, you have to deal with China. It still remains one of your major trading partners. You have a adverse trade balance with it. A lot of your source materials come from China, and you of course you need FDI. FDI can come from China from anywhere, provided you put your controls in place. But all this is fine. You have to decide as to how you want to deal with it. Dealing with China is more important. Now, to deal with any nation, you should know the reality. What is that reality which is staring at your face? So what I've done is, we know, let's be very clear, the China hand is not very tough. I'm making this point upfront. The China hand is not very tough. In fact, I feel it's weak. That's my view. And you get a lot more leverage to deal with China now than what it was earlier. Maybe 2-3 years back, you couldn't do much with China, but things have changed. So we'll see what Chinese hand is got, what the cards which China has, militarily and economically. And I'm going to give you some details just of the past 1 week. You'll get a sense of where China is going. That's the first part. Then there's business about Asim Munir's threat and all that. So you like Vivek has asked why Asim Munir spewed nuclear poison provocation. Well, we'll discuss it. In fact, later in the day, I'm going to do a podcast with Sandeep Punithan, which will be out maybe in a day or two. And then I'm also trying to do one with Klaus. I'm in Delhi. So that's why I'll sit and talk with General Dushyant and maybe we'll come out with something. But that's later. What no one is doing is this reality of China and how far to go with it. Let's get going. Look, there's a lot of speculation in our media and in the Chinese media. As China and India are trying to get together, they're doing a balancing act. Is a breakthrough possible? Is there a feasibility for a breakthrough? At the outset, I'm very clear it's really not. It's not really not possible. And this is echoed in this Indian Express. China is trying to stifle India's economic rise. Okay, and the byline in that is again interesting. China's strategic message to global firms is that India cannot be a reliable global supply chain partner. And the intent is clear: undermine India's economic security and curb its strategic and military strength. So one should be very clear as to when you're dealing with China. Yeah, this is the story which is going to be dominating. And I've spoken of this and done a full episode as to how China is trying to curb your rise. Others are now following. 1 month later, 15 days later, they're coming out with these stories and this analysis. But I've done that, and you have to go back there. But let's look at it from a military point of view. How good or tough is the military challenge from China? Look, we all know China has vowed to build a fully modern military by 2047. And this is what they've been messaging all over. What is the reality of this? We have to keep reminding ourselves because uh, by nature, many of us are gullible and we fall to Chinese propaganda. Okay, General Shokin Chauhan came out with a very good article in Substack, falling from the sky. And the thing is, the human cost of military failures. Remember, everything has a human cost. This is just about August 10th, 3 days back, 2 days back. What did he say? He spoke of the Harbin Z9EH helicopters. This was given to Ghana. A brand new helicopter crashed. And it is not only one of Zambia, Cameroon, Mali, Gabon have all seen these Z9s fall. Pakistan getting it? Well, See what has Op Sindoor uh, proven. It has proven that Chinese equipment is unreliable. We know that. But General Chauhan has taken it to an international sphere. He's examined it in a larger context. He says poor nations would like or have preferred Z9 because it seemed that modernity or modern weapon systems would be made available to them or attainable. But the poignant note he strikes is shortcut was proving tragic, a route not to progress but to funerals. Important. This is something we need to understand in the context of China itself and in the context of Pakistan. Okay. Then he beautifully explains Pakistan's air defense and all that, which failed utterly during Op Sindoor. Okay. Theory, Pakistan's air defenses were formidable, but HQ-9 and LY-80, which they were using extensively, were supposed to be an impenetrable shield, but actually collapsed. It didn't work. It just didn't work. We know that. They didn't, protect the cities. They didn't protect their airfields. Nothing. You see, their theory and fake items just evaporated under fire. Under fire, finished. They fired this 15 PL-15. Everyone says, "Oh, we fired God on a rocket, Rafale, all that." We know that now. We found that that dud which we recovered, checked. Instead of a single engine motor, instead of a double engine motor, it was a single engine motor. In rocket terminology, it's called single pulse or double pulse. Okay, pulse is the thrust. It was not there. Their wing loom 2 drones did not work, and they have not worked internationally. If you go to this article, there's analysis on this. Very recently in Zimbabwe, a J7 fighter crashed. Brand new. Okay, go back. Their nuclear subs, they keep sinking. 2024, one sub just sank in Wuhan. It's a nuclear sub. Was it because of a catastrophe? One doesn't know. So, despite this military hype, greatest military holes, there are pretty big operational holes appearing. And why this is one thing we have to understand. Why has Pakistan flipped to USA? Because it has lost faith in the Chinese equipment. Initially during Op Sindoor and immediately after that, there was a lot of halagulla. Now I don't think Pakistan has the faith in Chinese equipment. That is why they've gone whole hog towards USA. And that's a thing which I'll discuss separately. What's the implications of this flip? Right? US flip towards Pakistan and Pakistan's flip towards US. This is a mutual flip. There are implications. I'll take that on tomorrow, day after when I come back. Right? That's a different story. Okay. So this is the thing. And there's a pattern. There's a pattern which has emerged in Chinese weapons. What is it? These systems fail when most needed. Their weapons miss their targets when they fight in combat. Helicopters fall in peacetime. Nuclear leaks are covered in silence. Nations are embarrassed, exposed, and left to grieve. And there's no grieving in China when such things happen. So when you look at this whole story, is the thing which comes to mind is, does China have great military cards to play against India? Doubtful. Why am I taking military cards? The natural question is, will China attack India? That's a natural question. Very doubtful. They also must know what happened in Op Sindur, how their weapons have failed. They also know how their weapons fail outside. And you're fighting in Himalayas, which is completely uncertain territory. But it's not just this alone. There are other issues. I'll come to it. This is a very interesting article which came out in Reuters, and where they say South Korea's military has shrunk by 20% in 6 years as their male population has dropped. This is the first time issue of this nature has come in the international focus. Demographic decline and military power, a straight correlation. Just behind South Korea is China. Just behind that. If this has happened, this actually confirms what I've been talking of. It will not happen overnight. Next 4-5 years. 2030, I'm telling you now, you will see China struggling the way South Korea is struggling. And it's not as if the Chinese don't know. Guancha, they've come out with this. This report from Guancha talks of this. They talk of this. Okay? That because of the demographic decline, their army is shrinking. It's huge. So, where does that leave Chinese military power? On the decline. Firmly on the decline. You don't have very great weapons. Your army is not going to have great guys. And I've spoken of it many times. Of course, South Korea has an unprecedented demographic decline. Right? That it is only matched by China. So this is what the military strength. So they don't have a strong hand when we deal with them. Because we have to some kind of a flip towards them we have to do. And there are implications of this whole flip of Pakistan towards America on China. We'll talk of that. I'm sure Chinese are quite uncomfortable with this entire development of Pakistan flipping the way it has. Look, okay, we'll talk of it. Right. But do you ignore what is happening? You can't. They are expanding their tech cooperation in nuclear power, space, and AI. Their weapons might not be good, but these three things are strategic in nature. They'll not come immediately to the fore, but they are there. So you can't discount it. That collusion won't go, but the power of that collusion has definitely gone down. Okay? That's what I've been saying. And then, the technology, and they say they'll have the biggest space coverage, all that is suffering. It's not going at the pace at which we thought. They have projected, and propaganda comes out. Oh, by 2030, we will be the biggest space power, maximum satellites and all. They're not able to launch. They might be trying to do that. There's no doubt. But there's a big gap between what they speak and what the reality is. That's what I wanted to put across. And that's what we should know when we're flipping to China, that our card is stronger. Our card is stronger. Right. Let's look at it economically. What's the economic? This is, again, just headline reading gives you the true status of China. Consumers' prices in July are flat and producer deflation persists. So there is deflation in China. China has gone and they call it low inflation. They call it low inflation. They'll not talk. They propaganda hai, but deflation is there. Right? Okay. And then You see, internally, their economy is lagging. Their youth, they're going for jobs and they're no more going for entrepreneurship. If the youth of a country doesn't go in for entrepreneurship, then the vitality of that country is at stake. And why are they not going for entrepreneurship? Because the business environment has become tough for them. They have set great benchmarks. We'll have, consumption 10% will go up, yeah, all that. Suddenly, people have started saying, no, it can't go up that way. There are structural issues for consumption to go up. Now they're setting the benchmarks. So the long-term economic prospects of China are not so great. Okay, just look at it. Even beef prices, they're low. And again, why they are low? People say not consuming. So this business of lack of consumption, economy lagging, deflation is a long-term issue. It will not go. They can keep saying they have 20% GDP growth and all, but it's all fake. I am very sure that GDP is shrinking. There are articles which are coming. They say, no, second half will be better and this and that. I don't think so. In fact, it will be worse. And there's a very interesting article. It says China is a nation of savers, but many are drowning in debt. China is debt-ridden. People. So actually, when you talk of China, you have to look at two levels. The first level is the people. The people, the general polity internally is very bad. Externally, they have a huge military. They're cash rich. The CCP is cash rich. They want investment outside. They want markets outside so that economic engine can restart. And they're powerful there. Let's have no doubts. The Chinese externally have power. They have good traders, right? But internally they are weak. Why am I saying this? Is China going to collapse tomorrow? It's not going to collapse. Let's be very clear. We're going to deal with them on a different level. Okay? If you're going to deal with them on a different level, you should know what the cards they hold, what the cards you hold. This is all a game of poker. It is a game of international poker going on. How do you deal with China? How do you deal with Pakistan? How do you deal with USA? How do you deal with Russia? What are the cards you have? What are the cards they have? So the Chinese cards are this. Okay. And this article says, very interesting. This is a New York Times. I've given the link also, and I'll do a full program on that later. Because the bylines of this story are mind-boggling. It tells you that China can't, go beyond a level. And it's peaked. China wants its people to spend more, save less, and take on more debt so that the economy can be saved. See, that's the interesting thing. The Chinese want the economy to be saved by piling debt on the people. And they want people to take debt on to spend. I mean, you don't understand. And they're giving credit to people to spend. You take a loan from me and then you spend and stimulate the economy. And this loan-based consumption, they're coming up with new formulations how people can take loans easily and all that. But the fact is that an alarming number of people are defaulting on debt. They can't pay. Then what is this economy revival? It will not. Okay. This push for consumers to borrow risks deepening a growing personal debt crisis. So if this kind of a thing opens, the trapdoor will fall. I mean, this article goes on to say what are the major issues and all. I'll discuss it separately, but I thought I'll bring this in the context of what we have kind to discuss. Okay. So at that level, population shrinking, not very rich, consumption not taking off, deflation existing. China is looking for markets. China is looking to India. Oh, in Hindi, bolte the na, sone ke chidiya. They're looking at India as the sone ke chidiya. So is America. That's a different story. Articles like this are now being analyzed internationally. The better Life is out of reach. The Chinese dream is slipping away. Yeah, again, I keep maintaining you have to see China at two levels. One is the internal, where the Chinese dream is collapsing, and externally, where they want to revive the internal through the external. That's the important thing. They want to use their external linkages, external markets, create external markets, coerce people externally, get everyone into their fold, and revive their economy internally. Unless they do that, they're sunk. That is why they will they will suck up to India. And their infrastructure push has not come down. This is what I get. They're still talking of expanding their, high-speed rail. But there is issues of debt, there is problems of profit. They're not going at a profit. In fact, they're going at loss. So this duality in China will continue. Infrastructure is their poison, but they're still going through. Right? They are looking at rescuing. They are continuing to see how they can revive their property market. Why? Nationally, people are committed to property. If people start buying property, their economy will revive. And they're doing all kinds of tricks to ensure this property market revives. But I don't think it can happen, at least for the next 5-6 years. So, the next 5-6 years, you'll see China, their economy going down. It'll go down, and let's not have doubt. Forget about the figures, all that. It'll start going down. The military will start weakening. Their international relations will start souring. Right? Then on that we should have no doubts, because the countries which are around them are not very happy with them. They want to, again, getting back to track on the Chinese economy, their central bank says we will boost economy by lowering the borrowing cost. As it is less than 1%. So here we are looking at a stage, they'll make it 0.5 and then 0.2 and then 0%. So you take a loan at 0%. Maybe they, today in China virtually, they are already at 0% deposit rate. So if you are in China, you're a Chinese, you want to deposit money in a bank, you get no interest on it today. And you can take a loan on 1% interest. That's the thinness of the margins. They're still going to cut it. Even at 1%, they're not able to, people are not taking loans. That's the status internally. And trade is all about people, goods, everything. So this is how your cards are stacked. Okay. And then, I see this fellow, Mr. Devil. He says, even after all the debt, they're a production house. They have no other choice. They have no choice but to produce. That's the salvation. And if they produce, they can't consume. So they have to go out, they market. That is where you have the strength. We have the same strength as what USA has. How do you leverage it in this kind of a story? Actually, this guy is trying to justify, this guy is trying to justify China. But that is the point I'm trying to make. He's actually proven my point. Yeah, that's the point. Okay. Now let's look at India. Get back to India. Okay. Now, 3rd September, they're going to have a major military parade. There's many articles in the Chinese media say, ensure that Mr. Modi is here. He's going on 30th, 31st. He'll attend that SEO conference. After that, he's going to Japan and come back. Now, people are saying, persuade him to be here on 3rd. Because on the 3rd, Putin will also be there. If Putin is there, Mr. Modi is there, RIC. That is their salvation. Alternate world order, BRICS, yeah, war. I'm just giving you samples, but that's the thinking. And at this point of time, when Trump is blowing hot and cold, and Pakistan is doing what it has to do, it will do it. Let's not have any doubt. Questions are, it looks natural that we flip towards RIC and things like that. Is it good? Is it good for us? Can you trust the Chinese? Answer 100% no. I'm sure I would like to know someone who's trusting Chinese. If you like, If you feel that you trust Chinese, put down your comment and put down your chat in the chat also. I'll throw it. And I'll ask why. Okay. This dam which they're making is all part of infrastructure. I've done an analysis of this. One of these days I'll put it out. I've not had the time to sit and analyze what they have actually. In fact, I started analyzing in that article. It's not a normal article, it's in the Chinese, my Mandarin article. One of the things I've not been able to translate it fully so far and understand, but they are very interesting. Okay, it's not a thing which is this dam, irrespective of how much electricity it produces, whether that electricity can be used, whether that water is going to be blocked, is going to go on for the next 30 years. That's the minimum. That's the way I look at it. It will go on long after I die. And if this infrastructure thing goes on, their economy boosts. That's the fundamental problem. Economy and energy. On one side, they say we want only renewable energy. We don't need more energy. On this, they're building this. Where will they take the electricity? How will they take this electricity? All a question mark. There's a reality of India, which they are realizing. This we have to also realize. That's why I'm putting this up. What is that reality? I didn't know that India and Australia have signed a protocol for rare earths. In fact, yesterday and day before, there's an Australian team in India, in Delhi. They're looking at multifarious channels where they can, increase cooperation with Australia. I find Australians reaching out to me to do podcasts there. Yesterday, there was a MOU signed between Claus and Australian Defence Forces. Now, China reports that we are speaking with Australia for rare earths. Well, we have enough rare earths. That's something which I've told you. It's only that how do you convert that, what we have, into practicality without screwing up our environment. That's the point. If you convert our rare earths into actually the reserves which we have into actual rare earths, our environment goes for a toss. Can you accept that? No. So you have to look at modern methods. And I suppose the full details have not come out, but it is part of the thing. We have. It's not as if we don't have. So it'll take a couple of years. After 2-3 years, whatever China does is out. So you should know, okay, when you're doing a deal with China, and you at this point of time you want rare earths for them, and you give a few concessions, we should be clear it is short-term concessions. Because in those 2, 3, 4 years, we should be able to have our own. And when you have our own, you might not have all the rare earths. That's okay. But some of the rare earths which you have are enough. You trade. You create leverages. That's the importance of this. So does China have a great hand? What's the reality? That's the whole story. Because it's nice. Like I said, it's very nice. Many of your questions are looking west. I'm looking east. Please remember that. And then there are also, these are reports are coming out of China. He says Indian aid pledge reshapes Maldives ties as China wavers. China is wavering. China's they don't have that commitment to Maldives. Even after Prime Minister went, did what they did, gave a lot of commitments, came out and all that. The Chinese have not stepped forward to Maldives. Yeah, China still has a hold over Maldives because of that friendship bridge which they make. And Maldives is in debt. It can't pay off the debt easily. Till the debt is not paid off, China will have a grip on Maldives. And sometime last year, we felt that complete relationship with Maldives was gone, but it has come back. And China has not been able to match whatever is happening in Maldives with India. So their grip is not that strong as we think in our neighborhood. There's also a video coming around, floating in the X about the, a Sri Lankan MP. He says, look, India might be in trouble today, but India stood by us. We should stand by India. Now, this thing coming in their parliament, they're arguing like this and very passionately. So, such arguments coming out are indicative that look, there is something in India which been able to achieve. So, you have a strong hand. That's what I'm trying to put across. And then, of course, this global interest in BrahMos. You see the reports which are coming out against the Chinese weapon systems and the trust people have in BrahMos and Akash and new equipment which are coming. And I've discussed this that 15 countries wanted BrahMos. This is the same article. But I'm putting this to explain or that India has a strong hand. It doesn't have a, we deal with in China. We should deal with China with a strong hand, not a weak hand. And we should know how strong our hand is. Look at this. Everyone talked. There's a trilateral meeting between Bangladesh, China, and Pakistan in Yunnan, right? And everyone said, "Oh, there's a new axis being formed against India and all that. And they want to make a new SARC without India, or whatever." This is their analysis. He says, "No India, no go." Why a new China-led South Asian bloc may falter. And if you read this article, it's very clear that they can't survive. And China is a, out of area power. The leverages are very less. They can't do an alternative to. I mean, it's foolish to think that anyone in the subcontinent can do without India and form a thing. Especially when, Sri Lanka and Maldives are not part of that story. And Bangladesh has now started having second thoughts. Bangladesh is having second thoughts internally. Suddenly it realizes that without India they can't go. It's not coming out fully. But China is not helping them. USA, they're stuck with them. USA, China balance they're doing. And they're not fully geared to take on Pakistan. So there are issues. So again, why am I talking? India's strength. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make repeatedly is when you deal with China, understand that we have our inherent strengths. So we don't have to go to China or deal. We must deal with them. We must deal with them to offset Trump's tariffs. It's not as if we shun China. It's an option. Go ahead. But go ahead with your eyes open, head clear that China doesn't hold all the cards. The way China is, coming forward, join us, join us, join us. To tell you something, why is he so eager? Is it to make an alternate world order with against America? Part of the story, yes. But the larger story is he's looking at you for revival. Russia can't, they can't. That relationship between China and Russia is critical. There's no doubt about it. I mean, let's not have any doubt about it. It is critical, but it has reached a trade limit. There's a limit. Beyond that, it is not no more profitable to China. But China can't lose that. I mean, that's the thing. Whereas they see it as a golden opportunity the way Trump is behaving. Let me tell you, if I keep saying this, if they get a good deal from India and India does a smart act and come to some understanding, right? You might find that China might jettison Pakistan. But that is wishful thinking the way I look at it, even now. But these are possibilities which you should never count out in international relations. Interest. My interest is main. What is my interest? Border. If I settle the border with China, I have no problem with China. So we should never ever let our guard down on these issues. Fine. So I just thought I'll put this out.